Alright, so you're back, and we're back, and everyone's back, and let me tell you something right. We here at the Wicked Chats like to talk about things that are tight, with a lot of might, and we like to keep our sight on things that we like. But let me tell you something that bites. A stupid movie called Bright. And that's my foray into all this. Now let me go ahead and introduce you to these two who are always with me. This one is Lake 777711. And the one next to him and the one next to him is a grocery store named Demon.
I'm the grocery man crybaby now because I just saw that awesome anime on Netflix.
Good to be
and
here.
That's all there is to it. So welcome back to the jungle. We've got fun and games, and Will Smith fighting an orc army and a bunch of snobby elves and vampire elf queen reject from.
So the opposite of fun is what you're saying.
Well, you know what? Though I liked it. Well, I watched it so much that I actually came up with a few jokes about it because there were just too many to go through. So I wrote them down.
And I commend you for lasting through that movie.
I would call this an R-rated Halloween Town, but it's somehow less adult. This is the first draft of Zootopia, or the one that they just shit on and threw away. Let's see. Harry Potter and CSI had a crack baby, and God is it ugly. I guess this was the episode of Charmed that got bought by Will Smith, and he tried to give it to Jaden, but Jaden didn't want it. Looks like the cast of Law & Order had a bad D&D game. But my absolute favorite, and this is probably the one that's going to win me an Oscar, There in Black Again, an orcish tale by some overpaid numbnuts. Seriously,
wow,
guys.
you are on a roll today, Paul.
Make a book out of this, collect the money from it, and use that to fund a better movie.
I'm sorry, but this movie inspired me. I mean, when I see something I genuinely don't like, I can't help but write 100 dumb jokes about it. And most of them are okay because, hey, my jokes are better the more I hate something.
Yeah, indeed. I mean, this movie is...
stunk.
By the way, in case it wasn't clear, we're talking about Netflix first theater experience movie, Bright.
Yeah, a.k.a. Will Smith has given himself another hand job, but at least he's not putting Jaden in the spotlight.
Yeah, for those of you that don't know much about this movie, bless you, but also know this. It's directed by the acclaimed director of Academy Award-winning Suicide Squad, so already we're in a good start. And,
we're on a great start. I mean, it's like that if everyone was Croc and stupid.
Yeah, and screenwriter of such hits as Victor Frankenstein, and what was that movie called, starring Sam Rockwell that nobody watched? Also by him, I don't know. It'll hit me later. But anyway, the point is not the best track record on both counts, but so somebody said, let's make what if Training Day, had orcs and like elves and stuff like that? Somebody said, brilliant.
But it's not that simple. You have to have every LA stereotype in the book, every cop stereotype in the book, every magic stereotype from people who don't even really like fantasy, I'm guessing. And, put a dragon in there that fucking nobody pays attention to for some reason. I'm sorry.
You can spot him at like halfway through the movie for 5 seconds in the background.
But yeah, it's just a dime a dozen shot of LA as as just a basic, scenery shot. But there's a big dragon flying over it, and it's like, okay, there's the real plot of the movie. The fact that no one's panicking about it.
Follow this dragon for the next 45
minutes. Yeah, and it's like, okay, everyone's up in arms about the orcs, and you got our little racist chick shtick going on, blah blah blah. But there's a giant fucking lizard flying over that can breathe fire and eat people. But no, that's not the cause for concern. Why would it be? It's this guy in cheesy makeup who just got lost in New Zealand on the Lord of the Rings shoot.
Like, don't get me wrong, I like the premise. I like the idea of, present age, Lord of the Rings style fantasy epic, but it's like, I even like the idea of, cops with elves and orcs and all that, so that could work. It's a gimmick, but it's
there's nothing wrong with the premise. Before. The premise is all it's got going for it, because I don't know who wrote it, but, this is very similar to Big Bang Theory. This is how people think that nerds, tell jokes and how nerds hang out. This is how people think that fantasy works,
They
just
did
like...
not actually do research on the subject.
Right.
They just
throw in
concocted
orcs
their own
and,
visions.
Yeah, just put in orcs and elves and fairies. Throw a dragon in the background because fantasy. Make sure it's a magic wand. Gosh, guys, get
We
someone
have
who...
magic now, so we're hip with the nerds.
Yeah, there's no shortage of fantasy.
My problem with this movie is the same problem I have with Green Lantern, the movie. Which is like, you promise this epic space adventure, with the Green Lanterns in space doing superhero stuff with the rings and all that. You give us, like, in that movie, I think there was like 15 minutes in 2 hours worth of that, or something like that. Instead of it's all earthbound, we gotta look at Hal and his life and his girlfriend and his job and his bullshit. Which we don't get. Same thing with this movie.
And don't give us any crap about budget restrictions, because there's tons of actual good special effects here and there. And you have Will Smith. Don't tell me you couldn't afford more magic shit. You could. Come on.
We've seen some of the Netflix shows. You could have gotten some better effects.
This is Netflix. Netflix has gone on record saying, like, this is like our first attempt at making Hollywood blockbusters. Like ones you put in summer that cost $100 million or more. They had a budget like that here. If they decided to use all of it on Will Smith, I don't know, but they could have done better in that regard. I give you.
Well, if this is indeed their first try, I've only got one thing to say: try again, because this sucked.
Try better.
It's Netflix, Paul. They will try again and again.
I know, but it sucks because it's just like the Dark Universe. It's the foray into something that could have been cool if it was handled well. It's a great idea,
actually,
and now it's wasted.
Here's a fun question, actually. Which one would you say was worse, The Mummy by Tom Cruise or this?
Oh, The Mummy.
I think The Mummy was worse. Yeah.
No, The Mummy sucked. The Mummy sucked the worst, but, I mean, that doesn't make this any better. Because at least I'll say this for this movie. I was more invested in this protagonist. Will Smith is Will Smith, and that's fine. I mean, he's entertaining. If you like him, you'll like him here. The one that really got me was the orc guy. But he's not just Will Smith, though. He's Will Smith as a cop, as we've seen him do like 5 times. Come on, Will, change the record already. Jeez, you've done this before.
Well, yeah, man. We've seen worse. This is not After Earth Will Smith, but neither is it, like Men in Black 1 Will Smith. Somewhere in between. It's
No. This is Men in Black 3 Will Smith if you just take out all the sci-fi elements.
Just replace the science.
Well, that's like that's like the middle Will Smith, which is that's accurate.
You know what's ironic is that this movie actually had a lot of Men in Black references to it. If you look really closely, you can see them. Like there's a scene where Will's walking in the club and he comes across a girl who blinks at him with vertically closing eyes, just like in the movie he's in. And then there's
the perp he was chasing down.
Right, and then there's that scene where he gives him the smaller gun. I mean, come on, he's so nodding to Men in Black.
Well, somebody was.
All we need is a Tommy Lee Jones cameo, and it'll be complete.
Oh no, Tommy Lee knew to stay away from this turd. Actually, though, that's a fun question. If Tommy Lee were a mythical creature in this, what would he be? I'm going to say a wizard. I'm going to say Wizard Lee Jones.
A very moody wizard who doesn't like laughter.
I want him to be the dragon. Tommy Lee Jones as the dragon in the background.
You know what?
Fun
Actually, I like that. Yeah, maybe you know what? Maybe the dragon works for the police, and that explains why it's not eating people. It's like their little helicopter. All right, everyone.
I am fascinated by that dragon. Like the moment it showed up, I'm like, can we just focus on that? Because it raises so many questions in this movie. It promises, it has an interesting premise, like you said, and it promises you to build it and explain. Because that's what I want to know. Like, okay, so how does this all work? But they don't explain shit. They're just like, okay, so here's the orc cop. We're gonna follow him and just do every LA cop movie you've seen before. But the fact that he's an orc, it's different, right? It's good enough. To be honest,
good enough. That dragon shows up for like 2 seconds. You only see it on screen for 2 seconds, but it fucks up everything because it's like that's the story.
Is the dragons just roam free? Is he like an airplane? Do we not have airplanes here? People just board dragons because we're cool with that, or is he just of the FBI searching for something from the air? Like, are they the drones of this world?
Well, no.
I don't know. Things I want to know.
At first I thought this was going to be some Flintstones shit where that's a pterodactyl, a dragon flying people down. He's going to turn to the camera and say, "It's a living." But no, apparently that's not going to happen. It's just going to show up for 2 seconds and then we're going to go back to Will Smith and his Zootopia ripoff.
Yeah, that's accurate.
Yeah,
but I mean, like I said, it just doesn't give you enough to. I mean, like I said, Will Smith is okay in this, and the orc I liked. I like the orc. You know, he's
Well,
the only thing that holds
this
movie somewhat together. But
I mean, they made him a puppy dog. It's impossible not to like him. The dude's a total pushover.
You are rooting for it. Even Will Smith like treats him like shit, and you're like, "Shut up, Will." He's nice, you know. Like,
well, they do that on purpose, though. These are pro-minority movies, so in that sense, you got to make the minority in question as good as possible so that we sympathize with him. That's kind of the point.
Yeah, I don't even want to open that can of worms of the minority subject, because I don't think this movie understood a lot of what it was trying to say.
Actually, you know what's funny? They only make one joke like that. In the very, very beginning, he says, "Fairy lives don't matter." Oh, thanks, Will. Good read. Great job.
Yeah. Wow. That was another one where like they're trying to hold this random dude with a sword in the street, and there's like a Mexican cop and Will Smith, and they're talking. And I don't remember what they.
I swear that guy was Nick Nolte.
Exactly, but it's like basically they're telling the orc, "Tag, you're it." Like you get it.
Tell me that guy. Now. Tell me homeless, sword-waving, naked guy wasn't Nick Nolte. I swear I thought he was. Just, okay, Nick Nolte went crazy and got on the set. Okay, everybody, let's get him off, because frankly, his character had no other purpose except for expositing the Dark One's return.
Here, Nick, sign this waiver so we can use you in the show, and you're gone. Okay, next scene.
Also, please, they're hinting at the Dark Lord. Can you... Which one? Voldemort? Sauron?
I was just gonna say, I'll tell you which Dark Lord. He lost his wand, and that's the plot of the whole movie. Yippity-doo.
That raises so many questions. I mean, like, that's the lamest thing, just like the Dark Lord. Could you give him a name? Just something to distinguish him from the other Dark Lords.
Yeah.
Voldemort had a name.
The Dark Lord, Steven Spielberg. He's come to make a good movie. Oh no, get rid of him. We don't want any of that here.
It's like they were writing a prototype strip and they just forgot to put in his name. And in comes our character. Insert bad guy here.
It's Gary Gygax. Run!
And I don't know. I mean, I feel like the undertone of the movie is like, I just don't... I can't speak for everybody, but I don't like movies that when they're like, oh, of course, all the Latinos are just gangbusters that talk like this, and so like, I hate that. I mean, I know that's... I know like people like that do exist, but it's like, why is it always the one you choose to focus on?
Well,
especially with this director.
I can answer that for you right now. It's a movie based in L.A., that's why. It's purely because of location. If it was in Chicago, it would have been a different gang, I can tell you that right now.
Whatever. It's not the first time I see it, but I didn't like it. And it's like, how about instead of a gang of Latinos, you know, that we've seen a million times and that, you know, it's not getting anything new or, like, you know, that we like. How about a gang of elves? I mean, you had a gang of orcs, I'll give you that, and that was...
Oh, no, we can't do that, because then we take away from the stereotype of all elves are snobby. I mean, come on, the elves are the white people in this one.
True.
Yeah. I mean, they at one point they say there's, like, 9 races, and we only see the orcs and, like, 3 dwarves. Three elves. We don't even see...
I was just going to say, I didn't see no dwarves.
Yeah, they implied a bunch of dwarfish references, but we did not actually see a dwarf.
You know what? You know why they didn't do that? I think they didn't do that because they didn't want to like have a little spat with little people. Like they probably.
But they're happy to have a spat with Latinos, I guess.
I don't. Okay, my point is, I think that I don't know. Maybe there was an issue there. They didn't want to make a size joke, but then I'm like, guys, they've been using little people in movies like Harry Potter and Game of Thrones. Come on, it's okay. I mean, for feck's sake, if they don't have a problem with it, you shouldn't. I would have liked to see some dwarves. I want to see a dwarf cop. That would have been awesome. Little Gimli with a gun.
A dwarf gang chasing after the wand would have been amazing.
No. This is a dwarf cop. His name is Glock. Glock, son of Sniper.
He never misses his man. Never.
My father was the greatest of sharpshooters. Come on, Ward.
Here, take my sniper rifle.
That would have been fun.
You know, at one point they introduce an elf cop from the FBI. Well, not the FBI. Sorry, the Department of Magic. And like, I want to know more about these guys. Can we focus on that?
Wait, hold on. If I'm assuming you're talking about the feds. Okay, if you're gonna do that, you have to call them by their actual term, the Ministry of Magic, because that's what they fucking are.
Basically, I mean,
like, is Jake only going to press charges against them? There's so much Harry Potter in here.
Yeah.
Here's the thing. I will say that it's pretty. There are tons of, countless books, like the fantasy setting with orcs.
Well,
and elves,
Ironically, those two sticks in the mud, the feds, Dwarfly McElf ripoff, Lord of the Rings, whatever. Every elf in there looked like Legolas, except maybe some of them were shaved. But I liked Mr. Minister of Magic and his John Goodman look-alike. They were actually the two parts I liked. I liked them a lot.
I would have enjoyed seeing them more, but they were just kind of wasted there to explain plot points at certain points.
Well, honestly, I think they were red herrings. I think the story was kind of pointing, they're after the wand because they're going to take over the world. The Ministry of Magic's going to rule. But no, it turned out to be what's her elf chick who is clear ripoff of Cate Blanchett from anything she's in.
Underworld, I think.
Underworld or Hela, really. I mean, come on, it could be either one.
But no, I mean, it's just it's so lazy. I mean, it just focuses too much on the LA setting and the LA thing, and it throws a little, but not enough. I mean, I like the orc thing, but it's like
but
all they show of the elves is just like that entry scene where like this is the expensive district. We see like for 5 seconds, and then the Ministry of Magic guy.
This is Elfington Hills. You can see over there our elf polishing station, and you notice the sky always smells of vanilla.
Only the snootiest of laughters are permitted here in Elftown.
Non-pointy ears have entered our sector.
Could the movie have been more obvious? Okay, this is slightly spoiler, so spoiler alert if you haven't watched it and want to watch it at this point.
No one cares anymore.
Yeah, but at this point, like near the third act, they're like so obvious. They're not even trying to hide. Like they're like only a bride can wield the wand. But there's like no. At one point, there's no human brides. Just like 1 in a million. Yeah, I imagine that.
Okay,
what if the only human character in this movie chasing the wand turns out to be a bride?
Was there any doubt that Will Smith wasn't gonna be the Deus Ex Machina? Come on, he always is. He's always.
Well, that's my point. There was no doubt. There should have been some doubt.
Yeah. Well, no, I mean, there was a point where I actually thought that Nick was going to be the bright because, I mean, come on, he's downtrodden, and the prophecy, which, by the way, I'm going to talk about that later. That prophecy is bullshit. But no, I thought the orc was going to be, because, hey, he's the underdog. I figured they'd give him all the cool powers, and then he'd fulfill the prophecy or whatever. But no, it turned out to be Will because he's not getting enough attention, I guess.
Yeah, and it doesn't really feel like you're right. Like the underdog should have been the one, but then they're like, they gave him the whole blooded thing, which was nice. I mean, that's what he wanted, I guess. But and that's the only like connection, the only catharsis you'll get from this movie, if you stick through the end. But the fact that Will Smith was shown no interest and has like no role in this, just beyond like shouting at his partner and be like, I just want to retire, man. Too old for this shit.
Man, I want my
Danny
pension.
Glover from Lethal Weapon.
I want my pension.
This is Legal Weapon 6 Magic Edition.
Yeah. Plus, I have a hard time caring about Will Smith and his problems in his family because we only see his family in 2 scenes. His wife gets 2 scenes and his daughter gets 1. Really?
No, I don't think it was even his wife. I think it was his girlfriend because they were divorced.
Whatever. It was his woman, and his daughter gets like 1 scene. So I'm like, what? Why do I care about this guy? I know barely anything about him. Come on.
I don't know. Yeah, and there was that weird thing where like they try to establish some, like you said, like racial like. They think they're being good about it, when the daughter's like, I shouldn't call orcs like, no, sweetie, you shouldn't call orcs like. 5 minutes later, Will is like...
I mean, these people saw Zootopia, and they're like, we can do that. Where's my pencil?
Yeah, but like 10 minutes later, Will is calling one of them Shrek. I'm like, Will.
Yeah, how is that not racist for an orc?
I'll be honest, though, that's one of the few jokes in the movie I actually liked. You better get your ass home to Fiona now. I actually liked that. I'm not going to lie, that actually made me chuckle. But that was very rare.
But it just shows that the guy has no... I mean, I guess that's valid that there are people who say one thing and do another, but they don't have the strength of their convictions. But it's like, he's the protagonist. We should care. We should like him and be invested.
Nah, forget about it. Let's just make him... Let's make him Bruce Willis from The Fifth Element, except completely unlikable. And while we're at it, let's give them a pointless elf chick who is like Lilu from The Fifth Element and make her ultimately pointless too, because why not?
Yeah, I was thinking that. She was basically Elf Lilu.
Oh, God,
she is Elf Lilu.
Now.
Yeah, she's got the same exact backstory, same exact being schlepped everywhere, uselessness, turns out to be badass, but is ultimately rendered useless when her powers get transferred to someone else. It's just stupid. Also, she can't talk until she can. She's Lilu. She's Elfin Lilu, and it sucks.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I didn't really care for her that much. She was just like, I thought, okay, so you're gonna build her up or do something, but they're just dragging her along, and then she suddenly speaks, and then she's just there to explain, oh, we're this, and the magic does that.
Yeah, they had to dip her into the tree of life and
this
crap.
Was supposed to be a series. That it was originally planned out to be another Netflix series, but then they had to condense it to try and make a movie.
Oh, no, it absolutely was. This was going to be a series. You can tell. You can tell by how long-winded it is. It's just like Zombieland. It was planned to be a series, but then they're like, screw it, let's just put it all together and make it a movie.
I read that it was meant to be a movie from the start, but honestly, this would have worked way better as a series, because then you can flesh out this world and don't, start the ramping randomness.
That may very well be true, but honestly... Oh, no. I think this was a pilot. I think this was meant to be a pilot of a series, very much like The Mummy was meant to be the pilot movie for the Dark Universe. But it sucked, so now they're like thinking, I don't know, guys, this is kind of Will Smith or the fairy killing and the dragon pointless. I don't know, guys. Let's just pull it.
I can tell you, because they confirmed recently that they are making a sequel. They're changing the writer, I think, but that's it.
What are they going to call it? Brighter? Seriously, is that it? Like Crest Brighter? Is this whole thing just one big Crest commercial? Toothpaste sales go through the roof because Will Smith kills a fairy?
That or Bright 2 Electric One Boogaloo.
No, it's going to be Brighter 2 The Secret of the Ooze. That's all.
Now, there might be some ooze, with this thing. It's just dragon droppings.
No.
Bright Revenge of the Fallen.
Yeah, the ooze could be anything. It could be dragon piss or elf jizz.
Actually, here's my pitch for Brighter. Just have more dragons, and then at one point a dragon takes a shit, and then you hire Jeff Goldblum to show up and be like, that's a big pile of shit.
Okay, well, that's nice. Here's my pitch for the prequel, Not So Bright. Here's my pitch. Yeah, that's my pitch. Not So Bright, and here's the synopsis. There you go. That's enough. That's more than enough to make a smash hit prequel based on the astounding epic movie that nobody likes right now.
Well, a lot of people liked it. Supposedly it's kind, ironically, it's a lot like Suicide Squad, but on Netflix, because it got a lot of views, and which to them, I guess, translates to rating and money.
Yeah,
but,
it's a lot like Suicide Squad in that it has a dumb Will Smith performance. It has a dumbass guy in a costume making a lot of racial, implication, and it sucked. That's how it's like Suicide Squad.
Yeah.
Also, it had a really stupid female villain that really ultimately had to be pointless. So it is a lot like Suicide Squad, really.
Well, you could tell, yeah. Some people were literally calling this the worst movie ever made, and I'm like, it's not that bad.
Okay, that's where I draw the line. Like, I didn't like this movie at all, but at the same time, I don't get why people are raging like it's Twilight. Come on, guys.
Yeah, it's not that level of bad.
Yeah, it had a few good things.
It's a meh movie. It's a meh movie.
Yeah, it
watch
had
it
good
with some
things.
friends and don't take it seriously, and it's not bad.
It had a great premise. It had good ideas. It had good effects, and there was potential. There was.
Yeah, and the leads were not uninteresting.
No.
Will Smith is Will Smith, but the orc guy was like the one character that was believable in the whole thing, and ultimately you're riding through with him.
Right, and ultimately the writing is what failed. Predictable story, dumb plot holes, really, really confusing ending. I'm sorry, but that's just... again, it felt very much like a pilot to a series that's not going anywhere, or maybe it was supposed to be a series that didn't... I don't know. All I know is that the movie was predictable and yet somehow still confusing. Because I still don't know what the rules are in this place. They just keep guessing.
I know that cops suck in this world, apparently, except for Will Smith, but
right,
and Jacoby, the orc guy. But it's like it's too trapped in its own mentality of we got to do LA. We instead of showing all this cool fantasy things. I get budget, but I really feel they didn't use it wisely here. And like you said, the writing failed, and it had enough not to call it a piece of shit. I don't think it's a piece of shit, but it's not a good movie. It's a bad movie with a few good elements, and ultimately, I don't know if I would watch it again. I really don't.
I'd rather watch The Hobbit.
And
I didn't like those movies much
either.
either.
Of other awesome magic movies out there.
Yeah, at least then the elves are supposed to be girly and not in a weird way where they're rich white people in their own little sect of town. You know, the orcs aren't...
But I will say this. I mean, like I said, I don't like what ultimately the product was here, but I would give a sequel a chance if they promise, you know, different setups and stuff. Like,
yeah, if they change it completely, sure, I'll give Brighter a chance.
I'm hoping it's called Brighter now, but yeah, I mean, they're changing the writer, hopefully the director, but we'll see. But yeah, make it less about LA gangs and more about like the orcs and the elves and maybe their warring stuff and magic. Make it make it in the Department of Magic. Like, make Will Smith and the orc guy, they got a raise or a promotion. You know, they're working with
or
the
a desk job.
And...
Yeah, they got a desk job at the Ministry of Magic.
Yeah, and they're like, oh man, we gotta hit the streets again. You know, this whole like being passive thing's not working.
Or if my idea goes through, the prequel, Not So Bright, maybe we can actually learn a little bit about the mythology that they allude to, but they never really explain. They keep talking about cool stuff that happened thousands of years ago, but I ain't seeing pictures or books or nothing. Come on, guys, world build.
That's the golden rule of making a visual art. Show, don't tell. Show
world build,
awesome shit
damn
happening.
it. Yeah, and this is fantasy. World building is everything. In sci-fi, we can kind of accept that we don't get everything because it's future and shit. But with fantasy, you can make up whatever you want, you know? I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, they were more interested in just showing L.A., not even the nice side of it.
Yeah, it was pretty much ugly fantasy L.A.
How many bars and clubs and like strip clubs did we see in this movie? It's like it felt like they were just going from one to another for a different shootout. At one point, it just lost track of where are we?
Yeah. Also, we had a couple. Yeah, it also had a couple. Took advantage of that. It took advantage of gritty L.A. to show us some nice little HBO booby shots. You know, because gotta have that. There are nerds watching after all. Got to keep them entertained. Oh God. Pandering. That's what this was.
Exactly.
Yeah. So, if Netflix, you know, just make it better, make it more focused on the things we want to see, like, you know, the fantasy stuff.
Get your toothpaste and make it brighter.
So, make it about the dragon. Fuck, I'll watch that.
Yeah.
Tommy Lee Jones as the dragon.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, give Tommy Lee Jones a microphone, make him that damn dragon, make him the chief of police, and send him out on missions. You know, he'll be the getaway car. He's the main actor, he's the transportation, and he's the police chief all in one. Not sure what they call him.
Tommy Lee Jones is valid, but you know, now that I think about it, I'd rather have Samuel L. Jackson.
And you will, maybe. Well, there's so many choices for that dragon. You could have
Why settle for one? We can have more than one dragon.
You could. Well, I mean, if we got more than one dragon. I mean, again, the plot should have been that dragon is recruiting all other dragons around the world to destroy L.A. and make a new city, Dragtopolis. But no, we weren't that lucky. Maybe it'll happen in Brighter.
Well, I know what I'm writing next.
Yeah. Oh, it'll be Brighter when the whole city burns down in a hail of dragon fire.
It's like wands won't mean shit.
Yeah.
So we should be more concerned about the dragons.
Yep. Dragonheart becomes all too real.
We need to get
and this time.
If one of them has to be Sean Connery, if they have multiple dragons, I want a Sean Connery dragon.
Yeah. It's like
listen to me, Lash.
Yeah. I am the last one, and so is this movie. It stunk. Sorry, Will. You and your kid have hit rock bottom. Maybe you should be in a Bond movie. Oh shit! I said it.
Yeah. Bottom line, I think we've summed up this movie as best we can, and watch it if you want. I mean, it's you're watching it with friends, you know,
or don't watch it. It's your choice.
Or don't. Yeah, I guess you're not missing much. It's hard to say. It's always that thing with me with bad movies, which some of them I have fun watching as bad movies because I know they are, and I appreciate that at some level. But at the same time, it's like I'm saying support this movie when I really shouldn't. I know, but sometimes I can't help it.
Yeah, I'm just gonna. I
don't want to support this movie, but at the same time, it is a fun watch with friends. So it's because just to tear on it, but yeah, still.
Yeah, I guess. I mean, yeah, it's not as bad as The Mummy, but it's nowhere near as good as Lord of the Rings.
Oh, I wouldn't even put it nowhere near as good as The Hobbits.
Yeah, you know what? That's a good point. It's not
Hobbit movie from years ago.
It's not even as good as The Hobbit. That's right. At least Smaug was the center of attention at one point. They didn't just have him flying over the city in one shot.
Yeah, we've never really talked about the Lord of the Rings stuff before here, I think. But I will say I love the trilogy. I watch it like a lot. I mean, like at least once a year, I think. the extended edition, the only edition. The Hobbit movies they're okay. I mean, a lot of people give it a lot of shit, but I think they're okay.
Well, I just think that there's a little too much in them. I mean, look, I like world building, I like expansion, but dude, it's the Hobbit. Ironically, the Hobbit is actually a pretty simple story. You know, little guy joins up with a bunch of dwarves for a great destiny, and yada yada yada. But the new movies, they go so much into more detail than was necessary. Oh, Legolas is in the story. That's great. I don't remember him being in the book, though. Maybe he is. I don't know. I don't think he is.
But after show, it's
Orlando
connected
Bloom
to
is
the cinematic universe.
Yeah, and then
Orlando
we get,
Bloom isn't up to much, I guess.
Yeah, and then we have Girl Elf, who's just there to be love interest to Boy Dwarf, who is handsome than the other butt ugly dwarfs for some reason, I guess, because fangirls. I don't know.
I was not opposed to the idea of that romance. The problem is that she was the only girl in that thing aside from Lady Galadriel, which, you know, she's only more as a cameo there. So she's the only main female character.
No dwarf is going to love Galadriel.
They wrote her as such as the girl, like she has to be the only girl there, and you know, of course she has to have a romance.
Well, I mean, she fills three stereotypes in one. She's tough action girl, and she's romantic interest, and she's, you know, disinterested romantic interest, and she needs to be saved once or twice.
Yeah, exactly. They're like, okay, let's put all the different tropes of women into this one because, you know, it's Lord of the Rings. There are no women here, or so is the mentality they have. Which fuck that mentality.
I gotta be honest. Yeah, Lord of the Rings is a pretty big sausage fest. My God.
No,
nope.
I mean, like there are like you know, like I said, Lady Galadriel is pretty badass, you know, and
no, I'm not saying the female characters in it aren't good. They are, but there's like three of them. There's like three important ones in the whole movie.
Yeah.
And one of them just spends the whole time Princess Amidalaing it up by crying half the time, so she's pretty useless. She has one good scene on I'm talking about Arwen, obviously. She has one good scene on a horse, and then she spends the rest of the movie walking and crying. You know? Yeah,
but she is beautiful, though.
Yeah, I'm sure she was. She was beautiful.
I mean, don't forget, one of the most badass characters of the original was Elwyn.
Yeah, well, of course. I mean, she says one of the best lines in the whole movie after killing one of the best guys in the whole movie. She's a queen, man.
I love that moment, man. Like, no man can. You
know? No, you fluff. Don't you dare misrepresent. I am no man. Dead as shit, Nazgul.
No, yeah, that's what the Witch King says. No man can strike me, or I think it was, or stare me down, or something. And then
no man can kill me. And then she's like, "Bitch, I ain't no man, bitch."
Cuss down.
And then she kills him.
Man, you dead as shit. You dead as shit. You black robe. You ain't nothing in there but smoke and screaming. Shut you up, bitch.
No, I loved her in the movies and the books. So I mean, yeah, there were some good female characters, just not a lot. It was mostly a sausage fest. I don't know if that was a product of the time or just the writer, but I try. I mean, it was a different time, so I try not to put so much blame on that.
As I understand it, so was the story. I mean, that's just how it is. But I mean, that story was written at a different time. You know, female characters were not prominent yet.
Yeah, I mean, and I'll give them credit then for putting at least one or two as good as they were there, you know, because they are.
It's better than nothing. Yeah. It's better than nothing.
In The Hobbit, you know, with what's her name, Tauriel. Yeah, she. I feel like the heart was in the right place when they created her, because they basically created her for that movie.
Oh, the camera wasn't focusing on her heart, though.
No, yeah, that's like. Yeah, I know. That's exactly what I mean, though. They're like, we want to have, you know, it's like we realize that this is a different time and the women are part of the audience and we want them to feel represented. And that's a good, you know, we create a character just for that, but it's like, you maybe create more than one. I mean, you already have 9 dwarves. You could more than 9. What am I saying? Like, I'm thinking of the Fellowship. You have all these dwarves, and you know, you can only create one woman, and that's it. Like, how about instead of bringing Legolas back?
Well, Legolas was the candy for the female eyes. So you know what? I give him that. If they couldn't have female characters to look up to, they can at least have some eye candy. You know, give them that.
Hey, some of those dwarves were pretty hot.
No,
just give Legolas Benjamin Button disease. Apparently,
yeah.
He actually looks older in this prequel than he does in the originals.
Yep, isn't that amazing? I mean, he's like maybe that is the thing. Maybe elves do age backwards.
Yeah, I don't know. Like I said, it would have been better if they, you know, added more of that instead of like what you said, converting the one character they added into like all the tropes, because well, it's just easier to make them all into one.
Yeah, well, it's like, my thing is, if you're going to change a lot from the books anyway, why not make a bunch of changes? You know, yeah. If you're going to make changes that are going to piss people off anyway, why not do useful ones? Throw in a human woman like Eowyn again. I don't know.
Yeah, that's what I'd said.
Yeah,
but I mean, ultimately, like I said, the prequels. I can't believe we're calling them the prequels. It's one book. It's shorter than the actual.
But they are. But The Hobbit is a prequel story to Lord of the Rings.
Yeah, no, but the fact that we're calling it the prequels, like the Star Wars prequels, you know, it's like it was supposed to be one book, and they're like, no, we're gonna make it two movies, and they're like, nope, trilogy, because
you know what?
Money.
I'm amazed. I will say this: I'm amazed. Battle of Five Armies didn't have two parts like everything was doing. You know, well, okay, maybe I think after Twilight Breaking Farts Part 2, people stopped with the Part 1 and Part 2, but it was still the option. Yeah. Oh, you're right. I think
Hunger Games Parts 1 and 2 is where I just lost interest in that whole idea.
Right. Well, I mean, the novelty for that suddenly died. It's like, okay, guys, we get it. You can do that. It doesn't mean you should.
Yeah, but it's just money. I mean, let's not even pretend. It's like they had the original trilogy was so good and successful. And they're like, let's like any franchise, let's make more. What's left? Oh, the Hobbit prequel. How big is the book? This tiny. Oh shit. Can we stretch that into more movies? No, we'll find a way.
Yeah, well, you know, why not just shoot for the bottom of the barrel? Let's make a Smeagol prequel and call it, I don't know. I don't know. Let's see. I don't know. What would be a good title for a Smeagol prequel? One really bad ring around the... I don't know. Make a ring pun. Let's see.
Just call it The Precious.
Oh no! No! You know what? Oh my god! I just figured it out. Smeagol is actually from The Ring. Get it? Come on! He's a little girl in tattered rags with a screechy voice that comes out of a dark cave and comes and attacks people. Oh my god! Smeagol is Samara from The Ring, and it makes so much sense. Figured it out. Headcanon accepted.
Half-Life 3 confirmed.
Yeah, but don't think they're over. I don't know if you heard this, but they're actually making a Lord of the Rings TV show now.
Why?
Really?
Again, yeah. Paul, I just said, because money! Because we can't let this cash cow die.
Okay, here's the thing, though. I understand reboots when the previous things were not successful, but Lord of the Rings is one of the most successful trilogies ever filmed. So what in the hell is
they're not remaking the movies, at least. I think it's going to be based on the Silmarillion, or at least some. Supposedly, it's got like writings of the writer J.R.R. Tolkien.
It has to be, because anybody who tries to remake Lord of the Rings, which is generally accepted as great, honey, you're going in with a huge disadvantage already. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I mean, I'm trying to remember what they said about it, but I think it was like it's going to be a prequel of the prequels. Sort of exploring different sides of the world of Middle Earth.
Does it show how Sauron is born? Like, that's what I'd like to know. How this omnipotent Lich King was created.
Oh, they haven't said anything.
You see, back in the day, but before there was such a thing as eye drops, this great flaming eye came from the darkness, and he enslaved everybody who had better vision than he did. There you go. There's your prequel.
I don't care for depth perception. Must destroy the world.
Basically.
Right. Well, basically, just they're saying they're looking to explore new storylines preceding J.R.R. Tolkien's The Fellowship of the Ring with a potential spin-off series. They're already talking about a spin-off to this series. Jesus. Also included as part of the deal. That means Amazon is going to be making a prequel to the classic tale of Frodo Baggins, offering Amazon plenty of leeway to create its own character and take of the world. And blah, blah, blah. It's like, oh, God.
Okay, so it's a prequel to a spin-off to a reboot. It's shit. Let's just call it what it is. Shit.
I really don't like to judge projects before they're even conceived, but, I mean, this is like in pre-production, but I don't think anybody asked for this or wants this.
Just like the Han Solo movie.
I was just going to say, that's Hollywood in a nutshell. Nobody asked for this. So, we'll just have to see what the future...
I'd like Hollywood to take chances with new stuff, maybe. That'd be nice.
Yeah, and I'd like $1 million. Wish in one hand, shit in the other, and you get bright. There. Well, if you're not pissed, if we haven't turned you completely off of fantasy by now, go and watch some more. In fact, you might find that some fantasy can lead you to science fiction. Oh, but I've said too much. Lewis, why don't you play us out?
Well, we'll talk more about other things next week. Please join us as always. Remember to like, subscribe to the channel, check out our projects, and I guess that's it. Yeah.
Good night, guys.
So long, everybody. Be bright and don't watch Bright.